Hello, good afternoon, beautiful people. I hope you guys are doing great. I'm so excited to be here on live. I'm just trying to add the Instagrammers. How many Facebookers are here with us, guys? Okay, I don't see any Facebookers yet. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I'm just trying to set up now. Okay. I think I'm good. Okay. Hello, people. Okay, this looks perfect now on Instagram. Oh my goodness, guys. I'm sorry, my um Instagram device is acting funny. Let me see if I can do this. Okay. Well, I guess we can do this and then let me go live here. Guys, drop me your comments. It's going to be a really fun live session. Drop me your comments. Let me know where you're watching from. Hello, everybody. Yeah, so it's going to be a fun session. Push and flight. Push and flight. We're going to be discussing a lot of interesting things today. I got a bunch of questions about this video, so I hope we can have a very interesting conversation. Instagram, can you hear me? Instagram, can you hear me? Instagram, drop me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Drop me a thumbs up from Instagram if you can hear me. I'm not seeing any thumbs up. You guys can't hear me. Okay, I see a yes from Senana Kofi. Okay, great. I see Priscilla Ama who's dropping me a thumbs up. Okay, guys, so I'm so excited to be here. This is Push and Flight. We're going to be discussing something really interesting. Oh, I see Sewa MSD, Mrs. Sewa Duku, Mami Sewa Duku. Welcome everyone to this live video. I see Sunbills Kwesi, who's dropping me a thumbs up from Instagram. Facebook is also live here with me. So, guys, there was a news. There was some news this week or last week. Well, I think it was last week about a woman who happened to be traveling from Ghana to the United States, and she delivered when they were 2 hours away from the US. Okay, guys. So drop me the flag of the country where you're from, because this video is all about citizenship, right? So drop me the flag of the country where you're from and the name of the country, just so that we don't get lost. Some of the flags are quite not too popular. So drop me your country and your flag, or you could just drop your flag as an emoji. Let the emojis get dropped. Let me see you guys. Okay, so let's get started. There were a number of questions about her, what the baby's nationality would be. And so in this live video, we're going to be looking at all the possibilities. So here's a disclaimer. I don't know the woman at all. I have no idea who she is, where she is, or what her nationality is, but we're going to be looking at the different and the various permutations that are possible, and what, flowing from these different variables, what the woman's what the child's citizenship would be. Okay, this is solely for educational purposes, and so that's the point of this. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the fact that when it comes to US citizenship, you can acquire US citizenship in two ways. Okay, in two ways. You can acquire it either at birth, or you can acquire it through a process known as naturalization. If you acquire it at birth, you are good to go, because right from the word go, you're a US citizen. But through naturalization is when you acquire it after your birth, during your life. For example, I acquired mine when I was 34 years old or something, or 33. I can't remember. Well, it was last year, somewhere in April. So you can be 60 years old and then you gain citizenship, and that's naturalization. But if you get it through birth, that's a different route. Okay, so what we're going to be focusing on is how do you acquire US citizenship by birth? Okay, and again, we're using the woman's story, the news story, and we're doing a legal analysis of that story. So how do you acquire citizenship through birth? So there are two common law principles. Guys, if you have questions, drop them. I hope not to be, I don't want to be too technical, but don't worry, I'll be breaking down a lot. I'll be giving you very cool, fun stories, very fun, real life stories. So please stick with me. Don't get confused too early, okay? Okay, so you can acquire citizenship at birth through two common law principles. And the first common law principle is through jus soli, which is the law of the soil. This simply means that if you are dropped as a baby on the soil of a certain land, then you acquire citizenship. But we're specifically focusing on United States. So if you are dropped on United States soil, then you're a US citizen, right? The baby is a US citizen just by virtue of the fact that the baby got dropped on the soil. So jus soli, the law of the soil. Then secondly, we have jus sanguinis, that's the law of the bloodline. With jus sanguinis, it simply means that you acquired citizenship through descent, either through your mother, through your father, or through both parents. Okay, so for example, when we come to Ghana, let's use Ghana as an example. For Ghana, there's no jus soli. There's no jus soli principle. This means that for Ghana, even if you're a foreigner and you give birth in Ghana, your baby is not a Ghanaian citizen. Okay, I believe this is in Article 6.2, where anybody that gives birth in Ghana does not acquire, the baby doesn't acquire Ghanaian citizenship. You only acquire Ghanaian citizenship through your parents or through your grandparents. In the US, you can acquire it in two ways. Okay, in the US, either you are born on US territory or you acquire through your parents or your grandparents, even if you're not born on US soil. Guys, we're going to be looking at a lot of these definitions very soon. And okay, let me see. Okay, so let's take again a look at jus soli, which means the law of the soil. If you are born on US soil, this very fundamental principle is enshrined in the Constitution, in the US Constitution. Okay, it's enshrined in the 14th Amendment, and it gives everybody who is born on US soil a fundamental right to be a US citizen, and which is why it doesn't matter the immigration status of the mother of the baby. It doesn't matter the immigration status of the father of the baby. If you are illegal, people don't like the word illegal, yes, and I understand that. So if you are undocumented, even in the United States, so far as you drop a baby on the soil here, the baby straight up gets her badge of honor, which is the US citizenship. That's a golden ticket, right? Most people want to become US citizens. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're reconnected on Instagram. So it doesn't matter your status. And this legal principle was enshrined, was espoused in a case known as US versus Wong Kim Ark. This is a Supreme Court decision. I believe it was in the 1960s. And let me tell you a bit about that story. That story was about two Chinese, a Chinese couple, and pretty much they were not allowed to be naturalized citizens in the US. And they gave birth to a Chinese baby, and the baby was born here in the US, dropped on the US soil. The baby, for some reason, left. And then after, I guess, 20 years, the baby was coming back into the US. And then they said he was not a US citizen. But the Supreme Court held that it doesn't matter the status of the parents. Insofar as the baby was dropped on US soil, the baby gets his citizenship. Okay. And then when we talk about citizenship through jus sanguinis, the very interesting thing is that with jus sanguinis, that's the law of the bloodline. The principle is not enshrined in the US Constitution, meaning, it's not a fundamentally viewed principle. Jus sanguine is acquiring citizenship through your parents, a parent or through your parents in the US is, covered in statutes. That's the Immigration and Nationality Act. However, there's jus soli principle, which means that you are born on US soil. It's covered in the Constitution. So you guys can imagine how very weighty this law is. If you are born on US territory, you're straight up a US citizen. Okay. Now let's talk about a few more things. We're going to be looking at what does it mean to be born on US soil. There are very, very interesting dimensions to this. And in fact, let me tell you guys again, there's an exception to this born on the US soil. One of the exceptions, well, the main exception is that you have to be subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. So there are certain people that are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. For example, diplomats. Remember, diplomats, according to the UN Convention, is it the Vienna Convention? They have immunity. They have diplomatic immunity. So at the highest level, diplomats are not, prosecuted for criminal offenses or even sometimes civil actions. You would have to seek permission from their home country in order to prosecute them. And so these people, if you're a diplomat and you give birth on US soil, that's an exception. You are, your baby is not a US citizen because you're not subject to the jurisdiction, but that's just a minor exception. Everybody else, undocumented, documented, doesn't matter if you're on a B1 visa or a B2 visa, whatever type of visa, as soon as you give birth on the United States soil, then you are a US citizen. We have a lot to talk about. I know I haven't welcomed a lot of you, but don't worry, I see you all. I'm going to be mentioning names and then we're going to be interacting. Guys, drop me your nation flag and I'll be taking a break soon to look at those countries where you're representing in the comment section. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so we discussed acquisition. Yes, acquisition of US citizenship is not affected. That's the first principle it's not affected by the fact that the parents may be in the United States temporarily or illegally. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're here for 3 months, which is why a lot of Ghanaians and a lot of Nigerians and all these people around the world will take a B2 visa and then come and deliver in the US. We'll talk about that, the implications of that towards the end of the video. We just want to focus on the main crux of this. Okay, so now to the main T. This is this is the part where it gets really complicated. What does birth in the United States mean, guys? What is birth in the US? So when we say that you acquire US citizenship if you give birth in the US, you people know that lawyers are very complicated, so everything has to be defined because we don't want it to be the subject of a protracted legal debate. So we have defined in statute what is birth in the US, and I will tell you what this means. So geographically, when we say birth in the United States, it simply means that you've given birth in the US or its nation territories, or it's there are certain areas, there are certain territories that are associated with the US. Those are nationals of the United States, like Puerto Rico, Guam, Virgin Islands, Alaska, Hawaii. However, it simply means that you have given birth either on US soils or some of these Virgin Islands or the related territories of the United States, as I told you. Okay, that's what it means. Geographically, you have to give birth within, the 50 states or these mentioned areas. So now let's talk about what is not included in the meaning of giving birth in the United States. Okay, now let me give this very popular misconception. There has been a misconception, for so many years that when you are pregnant and then you rush to the US embassy in your country and you deliver on the premises of the US embassy, then the baby has been born on US territory, and by virtue of that fact, that baby acquires US citizenship. That is not true. That's a myth, and that's actually it's actually been defined, giving birth in, let me see if I can pull out the exact wording. Okay, so right here, when I was just talking this, okay, so despite widespread popular belief, US military installations abroad and US diplomatic or consular facilities abroad are not part of the United States within the meaning of the 14th Amendment. So, guys, if you're heavily pregnant and somebody lies to you and tells you that, oh, rush to the U.S. Embassy in Ghana, cantonment, or the U.S. Embassy in Lagos or Abuja and go and deliver your baby so that you can have an American baby, you will only be endangering your life and the baby's life. The baby will only acquire cantonment citizenship. There is nothing like U.S. citizenship just because you deliver, on the soil of a U.S. embassy or consulate. Okay, now let's get into the other part of this. So, I'm actually doing all these discussions from the Foreign Affairs Manual. Okay, the Foreign Affairs Manual actually regulates the Department of State and a lot of the rules with immigration. Okay, so alrighty. So now we're still talking about what is not included in the meaning of the United States. The first thing is that, guys, if you deliver on a in a U.S. vessel or on a U.S. registered vessel, but you deliver on the high seas or in the exclusive economic zone, then the baby is not a U.S. citizen. The baby is not a U.S. citizen. Okay, when we look at how a nation is, built out, right? You will normally have the country, and then we have the coastal line, and then we have the internal waters of the country, and then we move to the territorial waters, and then we move to the exclusive economic zone, and then we move to the high seas. After the exclusive economic zone and the high seas, it's no longer territory of the United States. We're focusing on the United States. If you deliver, if you deliver in a U.S. vessel, okay, on a U.S. ship, or don't worry, I know we haven't yet spoken about the airspace. I'm going to connect this to the airspace. So please follow me. It's a very interesting calculation. So please follow me, and then you'll soon get what we're discussing. If you deliver, even if you deliver on a registered vessel, a U.S. registered vessel, but the delivery is outside the internal waters and the territorial waters of the U.S., the baby is not a U.S. citizen. This means that the high seas and the exclusive economic zone are not part of U.S. territories. Again, so we need to find out where exactly did the birth occur. Okay, let me tell you guys why we're talking about the high seas and all of this. There's a fundamental property law principle that says that if you own land, you own everything up and everything in hell. Okay, that's why, for example, in Ghana, they tell you that land, as the airspace of the land belongs to you. So your neighbor cannot build their house. If your house is here, your neighbor cannot build a house and build an extension over your house. That's your airspace. It's not allowed. You want to use your airspace. Even if you don't want to use it, it's your airspace and nobody can build across you. You simply can't do that, both in the United States and in Ghana. Okay, airspace belongs to you. If the land belongs to you, the airspace, its airspace, as far as you can use, belongs to you. The only difference in Ghana is that if you find minerals, of course, under the earth, it belongs to the government, right? But if you find poop or anything else, rubbish, it belongs to you. So bear in mind that that's where the connection is. We need to understand how far the territorial waters go, and then we will be able to we will be able to connect it with the corresponding airspace, because as far as the territorial waters go, that's how the airspace would also go. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, and the other thing I also want you to tell you is that it doesn't matter that the baby was born in a U.S. registered vessel or a U.S. aircraft, for example. So far as it's outside of either the airspace or outside of the territorial waters or internal waters, then the baby is not a U.S. citizen. So when you look at it, it's still the fundamental principle of jus soli. It's not about the vessel or the craft in which the baby was born. It's about what soil, what space, who owned the land or who owned the water. That is the decisive factor of what citizenship that this baby would acquire. When we talk about the exclusive economic zone, it extends up to 200 nautical miles from the coastal baseline. of course, that's a measurement. Nautical miles is like 1.5 miles, and nautical miles is the measurement for sea and all that. And the other thing, okay, now let's talk about if it's a US registered aircraft, that's a plane, and the delivery happens outside the US airspace. Again, remember we've espoused the fundamental principle. If it's outside our airspace, it doesn't matter if it's a US registered aircraft. Then the baby is not a US citizen. Insofar as the baby has been born outside the US airspace, the baby is simply not a US citizen. Okay. All right. Okay. Now let's move on to this. Again, even if a baby is born on a foreign merchant ship, or a private owned vessel, let's say I have a vessel, I have a yacht, or I have a ship, and then that yacht, maybe we're on a vacation, I'm with some wealthy people from Ghana, and we're on a vacation, and the vessel, let's say the vessel is owned by somebody who's a Ghanaian person, and the somebody we invited on the yacht, and the baby is delivered. So far as the yacht, that's YACHT, yacht. So far as the baby is delivered within the internal waters, then the baby has been born subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, and the baby is a US citizen. Even though it's born on a foreign merchant ship or a privately owned ship, it's on US waters, baby is a US citizen. Simple. If, on the other hand, if it's the exception is that if it's a foreign warship, or it's a vessel or aircraft that is owned by a state, another country, for governmental non-commercial purposes, then those type of ships or aircrafts are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. And so even if these people are born in US internal waters, they don't acquire US citizenship. So that's the exception. Okay, now let's move on to this other thing. I'm coming to explain a whole lot of things to you guys. And then we're going to go back to this woman, and then we'll do all the additions and the subtractions and come out with a conclusion. Okay, yeah, we still have some more time. Good. So what does birth in US internal and territorial sea mean? Well, before we even come here, maybe after this, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about maybe France, Germany, and a few other countries, and then there are a few other things I'll talk about. Birth in the US internal waters. What this means is that you are subject, if you are born in the internal waters of the US, you are subject to the jurisdiction of the US. Okay. That's if you are subject to you don't have any exception, like you are not a diplomat or whatever. If you are considered to be born in the internal waters, you are a US citizen if you are not somebody who is not subject to the jurisdiction of the US. So you are born in the internal waters, US internal waters, and you are subject to the jurisdiction of the US. You are a US citizen. Born in the internal waters, subject to the jurisdiction, US citizen. Born in the internal waters, not subject to the US jurisdiction, not a US citizen. Okay. All right. Now, initially, I believe in 1988, the nautical mile limit. Guys, remember that all of these things have to be defined. When it comes to internal waters, there's no measurement. So let's say the US, you see the US here, right? Maybe a round place. The internal waters is normally within the US. When we talk about the territorial sea is measured 12 miles beyond the coastline. So that's the territorial sea. And so all those people born in the internal waters and the territorial sea are born on US jurisdiction. After the territorial sea, as I told you guys, we move on to the exclusive economic zone and then high seas. Those are outside. And so up until the territorial sea, all the space above, that's the US airspace. So if there's airspace above the exclusive economic zone, not US territory, airspace above the high seas, not US territory. So if you are born in the airspaces of those places, you are not a US citizen. Okay. So let me move on to, okay. I made a whole bunch of notes. Okay. So for example, if you have a case that involves somebody who's born outside the internal waters, but within the US territory, territorial sea, then you can email, a Department of State, and then they'll adjudicate as to whether the person is a U.S. citizen or not. Of course, these are still some gray areas. Because they according to foreign affairs manuals, the foreign affairs manual, sometimes even persons who are born outside the internal waters but within the territorial sea, people are still debating as to whether they are U.S. citizens. But essentially, the foreign affairs manual states that according to the definition, they are U.S. citizens. So if you have such a scenario, you can email the government on askpptadjudication@state.gov for coordination, and then they will give you the determination. Now let's come here. What is birth in U.S. airspace? Remember that I told you guys that according to international law, a country's sovereign airspace corresponds with the extent of its territorial sea. Okay, so the outer limit of the territorial sea of the United States is 12 nautical miles from the coastline, as I've repeatedly said. And so airspace above the land territory, internal waters, and the territorial sea are all considered to be part of the United States. Okay, and so that's what this means. I believe there was something I might have left out, but I'll still talk about it. Hold on. Don't worry. I will cover it soon. Guys, are you guys okay? Drop me your comments, your questions. I don't see any comments and questions so far. Are you guys confused? Let me know you guys are still here. Okay. Let me pull this up. Everybody okay? The place is just too dead silent. Drop me your comments, your concerns, and your questions, and I'll be reading them very soon. Okay, now let me pull this up. Let me begin to share my screen a little bit, so that you guys can see a little bit what I'm doing. I don't know if this is clear. Okay. These are all my notes and all my highlights. Okay, so under the 1994 Convention on the International Civil Aviation Articles, so all aircraft, so every aircraft has the nationality of the state in which they're registered. So if it's a Lufthansa Air, it's a German plane. If it's Alitalia, it's an Italian plane. If it's Delta Airlines, it's an American plane. If it's United Airline, it's an American plane. If it's Air France, it's a French plane. Okay, so you take on the nationality of the country in which you are registered as an airplane. And so normally for births, the nationality law of the aircraft's nationality may be applicable. And for births that occur in flight, while the aircraft is not within the territorial airspace, if that's the only applicable law, then it takes on. So let me explain this to you guys. You see, the UN Convention against statelessness. There's a UN convention. I'll quote the exact convention to you guys later, but pretty much they don't want people to be stateless. Being stateless means that you don't have a citizen. You're not a citizen of any nation. And all these complicated international laws, it can happen that somebody will not be, a citizen of any nation. Imagine somebody being born in Ghana. Ghana doesn't recognize jus soli. Even if you are born in Ghana, you're not a Ghanaian citizen. If that person who was born in Ghana is from a country which also doesn't recognize birth abroad, then that person becomes stateless. The person is without a citizen. So that's one point to note. The other point to note is that 70% of the earth is covered by ocean, 71%, right? So there's a chance that if you have, oh my gosh. Okay, can you guys hear me now? I took out the mic. Can you guys hear me now? Instagram couldn't hear me. Can you guys hear me? Let me know if you guys can hear me. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, please, on Instagram. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me on Instagram. Oh my goodness, not again. Instagram always has all these challenges. Oh my goodness. I have no idea why Instagrammers cannot hear me. This is not good. I just don't know why Instagram Yeah. Facebook, can you hear me? Let me actually, I haven't even been able to look at Facebook comments on Facebook. Let me see if I can see any comments on Facebook. Facebook, can you hear me? Instagram cannot hear me. Oh my goodness. Let me log out and then I'll sign back on. Guys, bear with me. I'm going to disconnect from Instagram. And then I'll reconnect and see if they can hear me. I'm sorry, guys. Please bear with me. I don't know why. I don't want us to leave the Instagrammers behind. Okay. So I'm going to be doing another live. I'm going to be recreating another live video on Instagram, and then we can continue. Okay. Okay, so let me see if I can share this. Instagram is always a challenge. I just don't know. Okay, so I'm back again live. So as we were saying, I was telling you guys that 70% of the earth is filled with the ocean. And the danger is that sometimes what will happen is that, an airplane will be flying, okay? An airplane will be flying, and then it will be on space that doesn't belong to any nation. The airplane will be on space that doesn't belong to any nation. And that's the point at which the mother can deliver. And although the mother has delivered in, for example, it's a US vessel, if you're outside the United States, the airspace of the US, then the baby is not a US citizen. However, the UN Convention Against Statelessness has said that just so that we avoid statelessness, if you give birth in an airspace and that airspace is outside the territorial airspace of any nation, then the baby will take on the nationality of the aircraft. And so, for example, imagine, a mommy, let's say they're from Nigeria and they're flying to the US and they're coming on Lufthansa, which is a German airline. And you're sitting in your seat and all of a sudden you hear somebody in the middle of the night, 2 a.m. flying busily, the pilot is bumping into clouds and you hear somebody moaning, because of course when you're contracting, it's a lot of pain. You can barely control yourself. And you're like, what's going on? And then you see, the air attendants, everybody hashing up and, running around. By the time you hear there's a baby that has been delivered. Okay. And if the baby has been delivered and the delivery happened outside the territorial airspace of any nation, we can't leave this baby without a citizen. I mean, without citizenship. And so the baby will take on German citizenship because the baby was born in a German aircraft. Okay. However, when it comes to the United States, they said, no, if you're born outside our territorial airspace, you are not a US citizen. In fact, the United States is not a signatory to that UN Convention against the law of statelessness. It's in Article 3, that convention. I'm sorry, I still haven't been able to pull it out. But the US is not a signatory. But it's in Article 3 that says that, you take on, if it's a registered vessel or a registered aircraft and you are born on it, you take on the citizenship of the aircraft or the registered vessel. The flag on which that vessel is flying becomes your nationality. It's very interesting. It's all a combination of course, immigration and some international law. Okay, now let me take this off and then you guys can see what I'm doing here. Okay, perfect. I guess you guys can hear me now. I will be reading comments soon. Don't worry, guys. Okay. Again, let me tell you guys about the fact that if you are born as a US, you are born on a plane in airspace above the US land territory or internal waters, all these things will be adjudicated by passport specialists at domestic passport agencies and consular officers at posts abroad, okay, in accordance with the Foreign Affairs Manuals. I know this is a little bit of, jargon, but I'll be explaining all of this. The other thing is that if you are born on a plane in airspace outside the nautical mile limit, we've established that the nautical mile limit is 12 nautical miles from the coastal baseline of a country. If you are born outside this airspace, then it becomes a birth abroad, okay? That's if you are a U.S. citizen. Let me see, where am I? I'm sorry, I'm getting a little distracted. Okay, so for example, the mother is a U.S. citizen and she gives birth outside the territorial airspace. It becomes birth abroad. That's the process known as consular report of birth abroad, and you need to report to the U.S. embassy closest to you. Say, hey, I gave birth, outside the territorial airspace, and so my baby was born abroad, but then the baby still gets citizenship because the mother is a U.S. citizen. Okay. I'll be coming to your questions. Don't worry, we'll be addressing all of those soon. Now let's talk about documenting birth in US and in US waters and in the US airspace. Normally, when you give birth, what happens is that if you give birth in the air, there will be something known as a medical log that is by the aircraft, the master, the pilot or whoever. There'll be an aircraft's medical log. And in this medical log, they will record the time, the latitude, and the longitude when the birth occurred. So if the birth occurred at 2 p.m., 180 degrees latitude, 60 degrees longitude, whatever, they will be sure to document it so that they can calculate exactly where the baby was born, and then be able to issue the birth certificate to the mother. And then again, if the flight is inbound to the United States, immediately they come, of course, they'll be taken to the hospital and then the vital records office, and then they'll record and document everything. And yes, actually document that the baby was born on U.S. territory. Again, they'll be using the medical, the aircraft's medical log to actually get all this information. Okay, I believe there are a number of things I missed. Because I reviewed this so much, but it's all become a little bit small here. Okay, so let me talk about this again. So as I was telling you guys, the USA is not party to the UN Convention on Reduction of Statelessness, 1961. That's Article 3. And that's where I said that, so the Article 3 of the convention states that for the purposes of determining the obligations of contracting states under this convention, birth on a ship or in an aircraft shall be deemed to have taken place in the territory of the state whose flag the ship flies, or in the territory of the state in which the aircraft is registered, as the case may be. So where the aircraft is registered, you take on the nationality, as we explained already. Okay, guys, so let me talk about a couple more things, and then I'll be reading some questions. Or maybe I can, let me read, oh gosh. I don't know why Instagram, they keep getting disconnected, but I see some questions. Okay, so we have Mrs. Sewa Ankroma, who says, what if the baby is on no nation space? Okay, so guys, here's where we resort to the UN Convention of the State of Reduction, Statelessness. You see, the UN Convention is pretty much just to avoid, because you see, they don't want people to be stateless, because when you are without a state, you don't have an identity. See how proud you are that you're a Ghanaian and you are a Nigerian, or you are, you're from the Philippines, or you're from Jamaica. It gives you a sense of identity. It allows you to enjoy certain fundamental rights. If you're in Ghana, you can enjoy free SHS. If you're in the US, you can enjoy free public education if you're a US citizen. You can vote. So all these fundamental human rights are taken away if somebody is stateless. And so the UN Convention wants to reduce statelessness. So what it says is that Article 3 of, I believe I just quoted it. Unfortunately, I let it go again. But according to Article of the UN Convention, that is that has the goal of reducing statelessness. If you are born on no nation's territory, then you will take on the character of the aircraft. So if you're flying Delta Airline, of course, the Delta Airline's nationality is American. So you would have become American if the US was a signatory to Article 3 of the convention, which is found in Article 3, but the US is not a signatory. So if, for example, you are born on a German flight, and Germany is a signatory to the UN Convention of Reducing of Statelessness. So the UN Convention Reduction of Statelessness 1961, then you become a German citizen. Okay. So pretty much, if you are born on no nation's territory, then they'll resort to the nature of the aircraft. If that fails, they'll resort to jus sanguinis principle, which I explained to you guys that with that, we go to the law of the blood by descent. Where does your mother come from? Where does your father come from? And then you take on the citizenship of your father or your mother. So there's always something to resort to. First of all, we'll look at where you were born, the principle of jus soli. If we're not able, especially for the US, if we're not able to fit you in the US, then you can sort that I was born. Guys, it's interesting to note that when it comes to jus soli, President Trump in the past, when he came, I believe in 2020, he wanted to, cancel this jus soli because he felt like people were taking advantage. And in fact, the jus soli principle is utilized by very few countries in the world, maybe about 31 countries, the US, Canada, Venezuela. Majority of the countries in the world resort to the jus sanguinis, which is the law of the blood, meaning that the fact that you just go and deliver in France doesn't make you a French citizen. If you go and deliver in, for example, Germany, you are not a German citizen unless you have somebody like you have a French mother. Unless you're born in Ghana and you have a Ghanaian mother. Being born in Ghana does not make you a Ghanaian citizen. So Ghana also uses the jus sanguinis, which is enshrined in our, Constitution, Article 6, Clause 3, I believe, or Clause 2. So when it comes to President Trump was like, no, it's a threat to national security because all sorts of people can just come and then deliver, and then their baby becomes citizens. And then when the babies become 21 years old, they can file for their parents, and then, they can file. That's what we talk about, the anchor baby, where you can, you have a baby, you come and deliver a baby here. And then when the baby grows up, can file for the whole family. Or again, that's what's known as birth tourism. The fact that you will come simply when you are pregnant just to acquire citizenship for your child. And the Federal Register, which is a register that gazettes all the laws of the United States, it describes what birth tourism is, and it's illegal. It's not allowed. So you cannot come on a B2 visa just to deliver because you want citizenship for your child. Okay. And so here are some of the permutations. If the mother, for example, was coming in on a B2 visa, I believe the news article said that they were 2 hours away from the United States. I would assume, therefore, that they were within the territorial airspace of the United States. The baby, so it doesn't matter whether the mother was undocumented or she was Ghanaian or it doesn't matter her citizenship. Insofar as she was born within the territorial airspace of the United States, the baby would be a U.S. citizen. Okay. However, there would be certain implications for somebody who would come on a B2 visa. Let's say the mother took the B2 visa 4 months ago, knowing that she was pregnant. She went to the U.S. Embassy in Ghana and said, okay, hey, guys, I want to go and visit my friend in the U.S. Meanwhile, she knew she was pregnant, and then she takes a visa, and then she comes, delivers on the aircraft. The baby will still be a U.S. citizen. Remember the case of United States versus Wong Kim Wong. It doesn't matter the status of the mother. However, the implications for the mother are that she will be found liable under Section 2126CI of the Immigration and Nationality Act. It means she misrepresented, what she really wanted to come and do in the United States, and it's a permanent bar. Okay, it's that's a problem, very problematic. It's a permanent bar. And so once you have that misrepresentation, you need to file waivers to overcome it. The other thing is that the baby will be a US citizen, all right, but the mother may be prevented from, usually if you have that fraud finding or the misrepresentation finding, then you will be prevented from coming to the US in the future. So I have people that call me all the time. They're carrying US citizen babies, but they've been blacklisted. They get to the aircraft in Kotoko International Airport in Accra, and the airline tells them, unfortunately, we've been given directions, you cannot go to the United States, and they're told to go to the embassy for an explanation. Some people will come as far as the port of entry to seek entry, and then they'll say, unfortunately, you will not be allowed because you came in on a B2 visa and then you delivered. You knew that was your intention, but you didn't. So what I'm saying is you can actually come to the US to deliver. However, there's a primary purpose test. The primary purpose for which you are coming to the US should not be to acquire citizenship for your baby. When you do that, you failed the test for which the B2 visa is being given, which is for tourism. Okay, guys, drop your comments. Let me see if okay. So somebody here says, lawyer, but I thought they said you cannot travel when you are pregnant with 36 weeks. Well, I believe that medical professionals can help us. I believe for some people, you cannot travel between 28 weeks and 36 weeks if you don't have a doctor's note, then you can't travel within those times. But I don't know who gives these people the green light to travel. But from what I heard, the woman who delivered on the plane lives in New York. I don't know how far that's true. So maybe she was coming back to deliver. Who knows? I don't know. She was given the green light. I believe the news article also stated that her delivery was slated for her due date was end of February, but the baby dropped earlier. So, you never know. So as to that, people travel for all sorts of reasons. Will the mother be banned from flying UA if she lied about her month of pregnancy? So let me talk about this. For example, if you look at the Foreign Affairs Manual, and you look at the Federal Register, which actually discusses. So the Federal Register is a very good tool because what it does is that it gives us, it gazettes the laws and the statutes of the United States and explains Congress's intent for stipulating those rules. And so I read it a lot as part of my strategy, so that if you're advocating for something for a client, even if your client is not within, didn't do the right thing, if the punishment or the sanction will go against Congress's intent, you can use that to argue. I don't know if that makes sense, but pretty much if you look at that, it says that when people are coming for visas, right? And that they say, okay, hey, I'm coming for a B2 visa. I'm here in Accra. I want to go to the US. If they're coming, even though they are pregnant, you can't deny people a visa because they're pregnant. That would be discrimination against pregnant women, right? And it's not allowed. The point is, you simply cannot come just to seek US citizenship for your child. If you are coming because of medical reasons, that's also allowed. However, you should demonstrate, first of all, that you can pay for the medical, everything about the medical processes, your transport, your bills. You have a doctor in the US who has agreed to actually take care of you once you are here. Okay. Once you do all those things, and then you need to also demonstrate to the officer that, you can't seek medical care at any other place. So it's kind of like you need specialized medical care in the United States, because the basic presumption is that anybody who's pregnant is coming to deliver in the US for citizenship. That's their basic presumption. That is what the consular officers have been told. That is the basic presumption. If you're pregnant, that means you are there for birth tourism. You want to go to the US to go and give your baby US citizenship. And so you need to rebut that presumption by demonstrating, for example, that, hey, Mr. Officer, I'm here in Accra, I'm pregnant, but my dying cousin is in the US, and I need to go and, whisper something into her ear, something, I need to go visit her before she dies. My dying grandmother is in the US. I need to go visit her before she dies. Even though I'm pregnant, that's not the point of my visits. That's not why I'm going to the US. You would have been set to rebut that presumption. Again, if you're going for specialized medical care, that's also fine, but you need to demonstrate through evidence, that this is what you are going for. You can afford the cost of the treatment, and you're not going to burden the US taxpayer, deliver, get everything for free and run away. In fact, I remember reading all this in the Federal Registry. They mentioned a woman who came to the US, guys, and sometimes, I mean, we're just incredible. This woman came to the US, and I think her birth cost about $40,000. And she only paid, I believe, about $4,000 of her medical bills. And then they checked and they realized that this woman had bought Louis Vuitton bags that cost about $12,000, $16,000. I think she was from Asia or one of those countries. And the point was that the US, they were very upset about it, because they feel like people are working hard for their money here. You can't just come in, deliver for free, and then enjoy luxury goods and leave, or even if you're not buying luxury goods, you just deliver, enjoy, take all the benefits without paying anything. So that's what they're trying to combat. Okay, let me take a question from Facebook. Let me pull this up bigger. So what happens if your B2 visa was earlier issued, so you travel on one of the entries and deliver? Okay, yeah, that's a very good question. If your visa was issued before time, clearly at the time, now guys, listen to this. If your visa, let's say, was, normally they'll give you a 5-year multiple entry. So let's say your visa was issued 4 years ago. The time it was issued 4 years ago, you did not have it in your contemplation that, oh, next 4 years, I'm actually going to get pregnant and go and deliver in the US. Well, probably you may have had it, but generally, nobody can say you knew that you were going to deliver in 4 years. So what will happen is that you will be given the visa all right. Now, if you get to a port of entry, the place where customs is asking you, okay, what are you coming to do in the United States? At that point, if you know you are heavily pregnant, let's say 8 months, and then you're coming to deliver, and you lie to the officer, knowing that you're 8 months pregnant and you're going to be staying for 6 weeks or maybe 8 weeks, which will cover your due date, then at that point, you would be said to be, you are guilty of fraud under Section 212A6CI, okay, of the Immigration and Nationality Act. You are guilty of fraud because you misrepresented a material fact to an immigration officer, and they actually believed you. But so what happens is that after you deliver and you leave, the most likely scenario is that you could be prevented from ever coming back to the US. Another scenario is that once you are at the port of entry and you're questioned, okay, and you say, oh, I'm just coming to visit, and they take you for secondary inspection, and they find things on your phone that, oh yes, the contractions, oh I'm going to deliver in this hospital and I'll be living here. You have made all sorts of arrangements. Then they will put you in something known as expedited removal, and they'll take you right back to your country. And then you will, when you're put in expedited removal, your visa will be cancelled. And depending on the grounds, you have to seek a waiver and all of that. But let's take a look at Akosia's question within the context of the headlines. If this woman had taken, let's say, a B2 visa, 4 years ago, and she was coming to the US for another purpose, and she delivered within the territorial airspace, it's in between the customs and Ghana. So at that point, she hasn't misrepresented anything. So then it depends on why she was coming. So if she was coming for her friend's graduation or her cousin's graduation, and she happened to be pregnant, well, nobody can hold that against her. So it just depends on the facts surrounding the situation. The problem is that the US, government they don't really care, and they cannot look into your mind to know your intent. So they could probably find you liable under one of the sections, the inadmissibility sections of the Immigration and Nationality Act. It's up to you to work with your attorney to come up with evidence, to be able to overcome or rebut the derogatory finding against you. Okay. Guys, drop your questions. Questions. Let me see. Okay, guys. Alrighty. I see a question that says, how can I contact you? Please follow me on my page. You can also call us on 802-780-564 or just go onto my website, akpokulaw.com, and we'll be happy to assist you. Just send us a DM. Just send us a DM. Guys, do you have more questions concerning this? Oh my gosh, I see my big sister right here, Miss Cozy AB. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Let me give a few shout outs, guys. Drop me your comments, please. So we have, let me read a few comments from Facebook. We have Eric Nate who says, sorry to interrupt. Let me reduce this. Eric says, sorry to interrupt. I wanted to start my application, and whenever I'm doing the payment, not going through. Okay, your application, DS260 or DS160. Please get in touch and let's see how we can assist you. You probably need more help. Yes, sometimes the DOS websites are very clunky, CAC login portal. So get in touch and we'll see how we can assist you. Kimberly Johnson says, GY. I don't know what that means. Go you. I don't know. Well, Kimberly, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate your presence. Oh, Guyana. Okay. That's where Kimberly is watching from, Guyana. And Father's Joy Lamte says UMGH. Okay, she's from Ghana. We have Daniel Odum says LOL, cantonment citizenship. Absolutely. Just don't go and deliver on at the U.S. Embassy in Accra and say you are delivering in the U.S. It doesn't count for purposes of U.S. citizenship. The jus soli principle, as we've looked at. Kweku Dako says, good evening. Hello, Kweku. Thank you so much for watching. Good evening. Miss Cozy AB, that's my big sister. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate and love you so much. She's giving some heart emojis, peace emojis, and some waving emojis. Thank you. Adams Castro says, very insightful. I'm glad. Guys, if there's anything that's not clear, please tell me. I want to clarify before I leave, because I need to make sure you guys benefited from this live video. Miss Cozy AB are right here with you. Thank you, sister. Miss Cozy AB says, keep going. Thank you. Thank you. Rebecca DeLong is skipping about and jumping about and prancing about and firing some shots. Thank you, Rebecca DeLong. Thank you, Council. Miss Cozy AB, another thumbs up. Patrick Addo says, yes. Patrick Addo says, I can hear you, please. Good job. And then my beautiful cousin, Efriye AK, says, hello. Hello, Efriye. Thank you so much for joining. Yes, live ended on Instagram. Miss Cozy AB, yes, we were back on there. And then somebody says, review the United Nations and IATA rules on births on airlines. Okay, thank you for that. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for that. I'll do that. But interesting enough, the US, they have their own rules according to their constitution and their statutes. So if they're not signatories, they don't care. Like, okay, but yeah, I'll take a look at that and see how they either align with these rules or diverse from or are divergence from these rules. If AK is giving us some waving emojis, Rekubediako says Akurasami, I guess he's tagging somebody. Okay, then Akosia, I read your comment. And then we have Lillian Ugu says, thank you very much. This is insightful. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of questions. Oh my gosh, that's an interesting one. Somebody says, what happens when a Ghanaian mother gives birth to twins? One on board a flight to USA, very far from US territory, and the other in US territory probably after arrival. Well, so guys, as this is a very interesting scenario, Morris, thank you. Well, once you have delivered very far from US territory, as I've told you guys, they are going to be doing the measurement. Remember that territorial airspace, it's as far as 12 nautical miles away from the coastal baseline, and all the space above is the airspace. Okay, so if you give birth within US territory or on above the US internal waters or above the US territorial sea, which is 12 nautical miles away from the coastal line, then you have given birth within the airspace of the United States. If it's outside, then unfortunately, jus soli is not triggered. The principle of jus soli is not triggered. So that baby will take on, the first twin will take on the citizenship of her mother, or her mother or her father, as the case may be. Then the baby that's born on the US territory will take on US citizenship according to the 14th Amendment, which enshrines the, or embodies the common law principle of jus soli, which means that law of the soil. If you are dropped on US soil, you simply acquire US citizenship. Except, of course, you are not subject to the jurisdiction of the US. We gave the example of somebody like a diplomat. You remember, diplomats are immune. They have diplomatic immunity. So if you go and commit some kind of murder, they would say you are immune, unless, of course, your country gives you up or whatever. So in that situation, one baby will be the mom's citizenship, assuming the mother is not a US citizen. And the other baby that is born on US territory will be a US citizen. Okay. My sister says, love you too. Okay. Akosia says, okay, me again. In my case, I entered when I was 12 weeks down. Okay. What happened? What were you asked specifically at the port of entry? And what answers did you give? All of those things are instructive, because sometimes what I've noticed is that for some people, once they come and deliver and do everything for free and they acquire citizenship, the hospitals don't forward their information to the US embassies in Ghana or Nigeria. So they are never barred from coming back. But some hospitals will forward all the information that you actually came to give birth. So they should look into your case. If you didn't pay your bills, then it becomes a problem. And then they'll check what you stated at the time you were taking the visa, how far it was from the pregnancy, what you stated when you got to the border, and then they'll look at how soon after delivery, how soon after you came into the US did you deliver. So they'll look at all those things and then be able to tell you if you are, if you are barred under Section 2126 ACI of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Okay, so it just depends. It's hard to give a determination simply from this. We have Akosia Kuzi Apo, who says, hello. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry I butchered your last name. Big sister. That's my big sister's best friend. So I'm so happy she's on here. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for your support. I truly appreciate it. Amache Bafo says, very insightful. Oh, if Amma says it, Dr. Amache Bafo says it's insightful, guys, I have to close because that means my job has been done. Yeah, okay. So we have all these great, intelligent people on here who believe that I've done justice to it. But if you still have questions, please drop them before I leave. We have Akosia Grace who says, didn't finish my question. So I delivered and overstayed for 6 weeks. Now my challenge is reapplying. How do I handle it? So again, if you actually overstay your visa, even by 1 day, your visa becomes immediately revoked and canceled due to overstay. The amount of, 6 weeks, how many days is that? Because normally, if you've overstayed your visa by less than 180 days, no bar is triggered. If you've overstayed your visa for more than 180 days in the US, by less than 1 year, a 3-year bar is triggered. If you've overstayed your visa for more than 1 year, then a 10-year bar is triggered when you leave the United States. So that's why when people overstay their visas in the US, they stay put, because if you leave, you trigger a bar, you trigger consequences. Again, if you have good reason for overstaying, did you file an extension? Was it due to COVID? What were the reasons? So you need to just check all these things, and then, but yes, you have to have had a good reason. Otherwise, the US embassy will find it very difficult to issue a visa to you, because in their books, you're not trustworthy. If you go, you're going to overstay, unless you have good reason that you can support with evidence. Okay, guys, drop me more comments, more questions. I'm here to answer. So, guys, with the woman that delivered, right? I believe, let me just give a conclusion to everything. Remember that they are going to be taking a look at the aircraft's medical log. They'll look at the latitude, the longitude of where the birth occurred. Did it occur on US territory? Remember the common law principle on land. The Latin maxim, I always, but something about jus colon ad from if you own land, you own it from hell and to heavens. Okay, so The territorial airspace of the US includes the US as well as the internal waters, the territorial sea. So the internal waters, there's no measurement, but the territorial sea is 12 nautical miles away from the coastline. When you move on, you go to the exclusive economic zone, not US territory. High seas, not US territories. All the space above those places are not US territories. If it's within the US, then it's US territory. Okay. So once you deliver on those places, then according to the principle of jus soli, you are, my friend, a winner, and you are a US citizen. Woohoo! Oh my gosh. So if you find yourself contracting, and then the baby is about to drop, and you can tell that, hey, this is NEMA territory or NEMA airspace, my friend, hold that baby in. Hold that baby in until you arrive in the US airspace, and then you can drop that baby with ease. And then you know that the baby has acquired US citizenship, and but of course, I mean, I love my country, Ghana, so much. Ghana is a beautiful country, and I'm so proud to be Ghanaian. But yeah, we all know, we joke about all these things so much. So it's just don't take it to heart. It doesn't mean I don't love my country, Ghana. I do. I love and I miss it so much. Guys, you have more questions? Let me see if there's anything I have missed. Because I try to say all these things from my head because I've just studied it and I've understood it and everything. So I may have missed something. Let me see if I can pull up anything here. I've enjoyed this live video. I hope you guys have too. Guys, drop me the comments. I just love to interact with you guys to know what you're thinking. Okay, I believe I mentioned it that jus soli, that's birthright citizenship, is by far a very rare policy. Most countries prefer the jus sanguinis, citizenship by blood, because they want to know who they are giving US citizenship to, right? Okay. Let me see if there's any other thing. Okay, yeah, I found my Latin maxim. Cujus est solum, ejus usque ad colum. So this rule simply means that he who possesses the land possesses also that which is above it. Okay, and other elucidations are that he who owns the soil owns everything above and below, from heaven to hell. He who owns the land owns up to the sky. So all these are just variations of the same Latin maxim. Okay, and then US courts have also established that the landowner owns at least as much of the space above the ground as he can occupy or use in connection with his land. Again, guys, so you can't have a neighbor here and your house is here and he wants to build, a veranda or a deck above your land. That's just not fair. It's like you feel suffocated. You need to clear him off because all the airspace above your land is yours, belongs to you. So you can use it. And so if your neighbor wants to build any extension, they need to ask you for permission, because you don't only own the land, you bought the land plus the airspace above and the space below. Okay, that's what that maxim means. I believe we've covered quite enough. I'm not sure if there's anything else I should cover. I don't think so. I think we've done quite enough. If there are no more questions, let me see if there's anything from Instagram. I have Shorash Sido who says I'm from Syria, live in Turkey. Thank you so much. And then we have, if you're a permanent resident in the US, how long will it take to file for your spouse? Oh gosh, guys, this is another topic. Today we're doing somebody's asking about asylum. Today we're doing all about giving birth in the air. What if a green card holder gives birth outside the US? Okay, let me answer this question. If a green card holder gives birth outside the US, unfortunately, the baby will not be a US citizen, right? Because jus soli principle is not at play. Jus sanguinis is not at play, okay? If you are a green card holder, you cannot pass on citizenship to your child at birth. The baby can only acquire citizenship through naturalization, which is after birth. If you're a US citizen and you give birth outside the US, then the baby can acquire citizenship through a process known as the CRBA. You do the DS 2029, DS 5507, depending on if the consent of one of the parents is needed. But CRBA is consular report of birth abroad. So if, let's say, you are an American citizen and you give birth in Ghana, you will go to the US embassy in Ghana and report. So that's a consular report, CRBA. You report the birth at the consular abroad, and then they will do, you fill out some forms, and then they'll give your baby will get their US passport. But if you're a green card holder, there's nothing for you because you didn't give birth on US soil, meaning the baby did not acquire citizenship by the principle of jus soli, 14th Amendment. He was not born on US territory. Secondly, he doesn't also acquire citizenship by jus sanguinis, law of the blood, because you, the parent, you are not a US citizen yourself. So you lose out both ways. But that's fine, because if you're a green card holder, you will be able to naturalize normally after 5 years or after 3 years, and then you can pass on citizenship to your child, or you can pass on green card. Your child can get a green card, and then they can also become a US citizen. Yeah, Amuzu 593. He seems to be my assistant today. He said, if a green card holder gives birth outside the US, your child isn't an American. That's it. That's it. Pretty much that's it. Lawyer, please let me take advantage. I filed for citizenship for a year, but still haven't. Oh, Amuzu, don't worry. They'll reach back. There's a lot of backlog and everything, so they'll reach back to you guys. I've had a fabulous, wonderful time. If you missed this video, please make sure to rewind and watch everything. I hope I haven't left out anything crucial, guys. Let me know. I believe I've covered everything that I need to cover. We have Doris Ifa, who says, good job, Doris. Thank you. I really appreciate your kind words. Eja Indede Adoni says, good works, counsel. Thank you. Jazzy Winner. Oh, great education. Thank you, Jazzy Winner. Thank you. I appreciate you joining. And we have Angel Deborah says, oh, my beautiful sister. Angel, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I hope everything is well with you. All right, friends. I will see you guys in the next live video. And until then, please take care, be good, stay safe. And don't forget to share this live video, because I saw a lot of misinformation. People were just saying all sorts of things. I've broken it down. I've come to you with the law as it is. So make sure you share this video with your family and your friends and let them have the answer to this big push and flight, the aircraft baby, the airborne baby. Okay. We have Father's Joy Lamte, who says, well done, Ikia. Thank you. Of course, you're welcome. Nanadra Pokia says, good job. Angel Deborah says, we are blessed, sis. Okay, guys. Let me read a couple. Somebody says, Mosharo, I joined from Maldives. Awesome. Okay, we have a lot of people from all around the world. Okay, well, thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed your company. Share the video. Drop me, questions if you have them in my DM, and then possibly I could address those in the live video. Maybe let me introduce myself. My name is Ikia. I'm an attorney in my home country, Ghana. That's where I'm from. I'm also an attorney in the US. Here, my office is located in Northern Virginia, but I represent immigrants around the US. And yes, I do fierce representation for all immigrants. If you need help, you can call me 802-7800-564, and we will be very happy to assist you. That's my number right there. Our website also is available. So guys, I will see you. Take care and have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.